Hello FPLers, good to see you again. This week I'm going to do something a little less polished than my usual vids because I'm short on time and we've got probably around 24 hours at this stage until the game week 6 FPL deadline. A Friday deadline. Remember to get your teams in order and set up your captains, vice captains and bench accordingly, because a lot of people do get caught out by the first Friday deadline of the season. So I'm going to crack on with in this video with a little bit of a review of game week 5, and it was a very high scoring game week for a lot of managers out there, specifically if you're one of the very many that transferred in Harry Kane and placed the armband on him, because he continued his blistering form of late with a goal, 2 goals and an assist, 16 FPL points. After I look at the review of game week 5, which I won't spend too much time on because it's a thing of the past now, I will jump on to my transfers for game week 6. I'll also address some pressing issues. I know that James Rodriguez seems to be injured for game week 5. That has been announced by Ancelotti recently, and 250,000 managers have transferred James Rodriguez into their teams prior to the start of game week 6, and now they are faced with a big dilemma as to what to do with this guy, seemingly not playing against Southampton this weekend. It could be out a little longer, but it is a little bit inconclusive right now how long he's going to be out for. A little bit like the De Bruyne injury the previous week. After that, I'm going to actually jump into my Super Brew predictions. That's something I've been abandoning a little bit. There is a link in the description of the YouTube video. It's an auto-join link to the Super Brew Predictions League, whereby we try and guess the score of every Premier League game in a given game week. And we've been playing along since the beginning. There's 93 other contestants in there. I will put up a prize for the winner at the end of the season. So well worth joining and having a bit of fun there. Scores have been so unpredictable so far this season. I think I got 3 out of 10 results correct last week, and I actually bet the community average. Last week, out of the millions that play this predictions game, the average correct prediction was 2.68 out of 10, which was incredible. So I'll dive into that a little later. I'll also talk about my captaincy, which I have pretty much made my mind up on, unless there's significant events in the Europa League games left to play. Right, let's get stuck into game week 5. For me, it was, well, technically it was 7 points above average, but I felt like it was a very average game week. At the same time, I scored 67 points, and I had a game week rank of 2.5 million. So very, very mediocre as far as I'm concerned. In saying that, it was a green arrow, a welcome green arrow up to 758k. I had 2 horrible game weeks. Last week in particular was disastrous for me, which dropped me out of the top 100k right back into the dizzy nosebleed heights of the coming around the million mark. So back on track a little bit this week. There are some serious issues with my team that I really would love to address with a wild card. Unfortunately, we only get 1 wild card in the first 16 game weeks, and now for me, the right decision I feel is not to use it right now. So Ramsdale starting from the back again. Nothing. I'm getting nothing out of Aaron Ramsdale this season. No clean sheets of late. He had a late. He's been close to getting out those clean sheets, but the wipeout, it just feels inevitable at this stage that he's going to concede a goal. He's getting a couple of save points here and there, but really isn't good enough for my standard. And look at the fixtures coming up. He's got 3 absolute whopper fixtures, 6, 7 and 8. Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea. So yeah, he's somebody who I really want. I would love to get a new goalkeeper in, but unfortunately I have to prioritize my transfers, and Ramsdale stays. Justin then, look, I got nothing again off James Justin. I feel fortunate already to get his goal and assist, and I feel like he will keep his place with Leicester. They're away to Arsenal next, so not ideal to have to keep him. But the talk of, well, the main player who sticks out for me here like a sore thumb is Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw has played 360 minutes of Premier League football this season, and he has scored a grand total of, drumroll, 0 points. So he is a huge issue in my team. Thankfully, he's only owned by 1.1% of managers, which means even though everyone's selling him, he's not going to drop any more in price, I hope. So 4.9 million. I want rid of him, to be honest. With Telles coming in now, I don't even think his place is assured at all in that Man United team. So a real problem with Luke Shaw, but absolutely comical. Scored an own goal. I was actually excited to watch him against Newcastle because it was great. I'm a Man United supporter, and it's great to have one of your own players involved in a game week. Gives you a little bit more interest, even more interest in watching your own side play when you have an FPL asset to kind of monitor and look at. And he scores an own goal within 3 minutes. Couldn't believe it. Really couldn't. Wiped out his own clean sheet and left me my jaw had to be picked off the floor as I watched on. But anyway, he actually did okay throughout the rest of the game. It was a little bit of a slice of misfortune, really, but really not good enough. 0 points out of 4 games. Absolute joke, really, from Luke Shaw. But look, I don't have other fires. He's the biggest fire I have, but we'll talk about my transfers later. Trent, then, the argument continues. Who is the better asset to own out of Robbo and Trent? This is a constant one. Every single season it comes up. Robbo 2 seasons ago was a top scoring FPL defender of all time. That he created the record that year with his massive haul of points. And then Trent last year pipped him, I think, slightly. And now Robbo has come into his own, playing much more advanced. Definitely has more penalty area touches, more, not more attempts on goal, but definitely more involved in the last third of the field for Liverpool. Trent doesn't seem to be, if you look at his heat maps, he's well back in comparison to Robbo, around about the halfway line. So worrying enough for Trent Alexander-Arnold owners. Saying that though, he has the most attempts for a defender in FPL. He has 9. He nearly scored a free kick in the last game, and goals will come eventually for Trent. It is a lot annoying too that Robbo's taking his share in the corners as well. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think it's a very sideways transfer to move from Trent to Robertson, unless you're on a wild card and it doesn't cost you a transfer, so to speak. Then I'm looking at my transfer I've made. I made a KDB to Son move last week, enforced with the injury to KDB and the fact that I was going to struggle to field a decent squad or a team at all of starters. So it was a good move to make. It was a no-brainer, really, with the way Heung-min Son's playing recently. He's really bang on form. And the only regret I have is, even though I brought Heung-min Son in, I went with Salah for the captaincy. Still got his goal, as Salah does. He never seems to let you down. Only once this season so far he's blanked. So great to get the returns off Salah, even though in hindsight the Spurs assets might have been the way to go. Harvey Barnes, disappointing. That's all I can say. I actually haven't seen the full game, the Leicester game. I saw a few highlights. I know Vardy was missing. But Harvey Barnes, yeah, it was a tale as well from last season of Harvey Barnes really getting a lot of opportunities but not producing the same level of goal and assists that you might expect from those statistics. But again, it could be a patient game. And if you look below Harvey Barnes in my team, you'll see Timo Werner happily smiling at me. 16 points. I talked and I pulled my hair out last week. Will I keep him? Will I not? Harry Kane was calling, and luckily I kept him, and he produced the goods. 2 goals and an assist, 16 FPL points. Great to see. Hopefully he can kick on now. Difficult fixture at Old Trafford next, but if things start to click, Werner's in his favourite position, leading the line, and he'll have huge creative assets like Pulisic, Ziyech, Mount, Havertz lining up behind him to supply. So hopefully it's all changing for Timo Werner and his fortunes in FPL. Danny Ings, then, what an asset. I've only owned him for 2 weeks and he's already returned me a goal. And in terms of fixtures, they're okay, to be honest, for Southampton. Calvert-Lewin then is probably the most the most astute acquisition I've had this season, and I've had him from the very, very beginning. 7 goals now he has, and it's looking fantastic. A little disappointed that he hasn't done better on the bonus points side of things. If you can see game weeks 3, 4 and 5, he has his goal, but he didn't build upon it with any sort of bonus points, which is a little annoying, but you can't really complain. He's up to 7.7 million now, so rising and continues to rise. And all I can suggest is, with the form that Everton have and with the might of James Rodriguez behind him and Lucas Digne on the left wing whipping balls in, and the way Dominic Calvert-Lewin can leap in the air and just it's Ronaldo-esque how high and how long he can linger to get those headers in, and testament to that was that amazing equaliser he got at Anfield. So really happy to own Dominic Calvert-Lewin. My advice is, if you don't own him yet, it's still not too late. He's 55% owned. That's huge. That's a huge ownership level. I think he's the most highest owned player in the game, but there's a reason for it. It doesn't look like his form is going to dip anytime soon. Now, catch 22. In saying that, Everton are a little bit depleted going into the Southampton game, but hopefully that James injury is short term and he'll be back away to Newcastle in game week 7. So a grand total of 67 FPL points scored. On to the next week. Small green arrow of 50k up to 750,000, and it could have been worse and it could have been better. Could have been a lot better if Harry Kane had a blanked. Bench, nothing really to report. They were on the bench for a reason, and 2 points out of the 4 players on the bench there, so made the right decision. Should I glance through these fixtures? I'm kind of caught for time. I don't want to dwell too much on my watch list for this week. If I skip through everything really quickly, I mean, VAR was the real comical topic in the Everton-Liverpool game, the early kickoff. Mane, Salah, there's really a good case to be made to have both of those in your team now. The fact that Van Dijk and Alisson are out of action for a while really depletes Liverpool on the defensive side of things. So like a Robbo, Mane, Salah triple up could be a really good way to go. Chelsea 3-3. They can't keep a clean sheet. Well, actually they can. They kept one in the Champions League midweek, but they can't in the Premier League where it matters for us FPL players. Jorginho continues to get some points. He's probably one to watch. Cheap asset. Another actually cheap asset. I'm going to skip right down to Spurs and Ademola Lookman. Sorry, not Spurs. Where am I looking? Fulham. Ademola Lookman. He scored his goal, looked really, really good, and he's only 5 million. So I'm going to add him to the watch list because I do have an Ollie Burke to deal with, and he's 4.5. If I can find a 0.5 million, I might consider someone like Lookman, who's a midfielder in FPL, but is playing definitely up front, really, to the left, or just alongside Mitrovic. So a good player, Lookman, young, a lot to prove. This could be his year to really kick on. Who else can I really talk about? I mean, a lot of these teams, a lot of these players are already on my watch list. Leicester were very disappointing, and you got to wonder about Villa, how long they can keep this up. They've been mightily impressive so far this season, and their defenders are just killing it so far. Like they've the most clean sheets out of any team with 3. And funnily enough, this time last season, after game week 5 last season, Villa were also joint top for clean sheets, and look what happened to them come the end. So still very early, and all these trends are just taking shape, and they will fluctuate as the season goes on. Nothing is set in stone, as we know. Leeds against Wolves. I had Podence. I didn't really talk about it earlier, but like Podence, or however you want to pronounce it, he looked quite good, and it was annoying that he was taken off. I think his minutes are going to be a little limited. Maybe there's a sense there that he runs out of a bit of steam. He is a bit of a live wire, a real pacey player who can get in behind defenses, but maybe he burns out early. I'd like to see him play more. One player I will add to the watch list is Kilman. He got an assist now, not a very convincing assist, but it was an assist, and he is a 4 million defender, up to 4.1 million. Little doubt as to whether he can keep his place in that team. With the likes of Marcal coming back on the left wing, so East might drop back into central defence. That would be my only slight concern, but a lot of talk is pointing towards Max Kilman being a starter for Wolves going forward. And he's got Newcastle home, Crystal Palace home, Southampton home in the next 4. So Wolves defensive assets definitely in my current thinking right now. Let's move on to this week and my transfers. So I have already done my transfer, and the reason why I moved early was because of the price rises, and I knew this guy was going to be priced up, and I was right. And if I go into my pick team section here, you'll see I've already done it, and it was Harry Kane. Harry Kane has moved into my starting 11, my team, my captaincy thoughts, everything. And I didn't want to continue on with sleepless nights without Harry, the Hurricane Kane, in my team. When he gets going, he is lethal, and we've known that throughout the years. It's the only kind of really nagging thing at me with Harry Kane is the fact that he drops a little deep for my liking. Doesn't get as many touches in the box, evidently, and in general is just dropping. He's not the most advanced player for Spurs, even though he's their main man, target man, and probably talisman. So it doesn't matter now because he's getting assists. Last season he had 2 assists, and this season it's 5 game weeks in and he's got 7 assists. So he's a different beast now. He's more of a quarterback type player. I know he's a big fan of American football, and maybe he's getting inspired by the QB position, and spraying those amazing passes and distributions to the likes of Heung-min Son. Kane and Son double off is just so nice to have now. And look at those returns. 3 double-digit hauls in the first 5 games. 1 blank in game week 1. And that punished a lot of people who didn't stick with him after game week 1 and sold him for game week 2. But look, you have to be in a frame of mind in this game to realize when you've made a mistake and get a player back if they are proving to be unsellable. You can sell a player that turns out to be unsellable, and you just have to swallow your pride and get him back into your team. Something that I did with Heung-min Son after I sold him in game week 3. I had no problems getting him back in for game week 5 after his haul against Man United. So Kane is in my team, and I had to prioritize my transfer. I had enough money in the bank to move from Ings to Kane that left me with a little bit of change, 0.2 million. I know what you're saying. Why did you do it, Cahill? Crypto had a lot of other opportunities to get rid of players in his defense. Luke Shaw, not good enough. Tyreek Mitchell, losing his place in the team with the return of Patrick Van Aanholt. James Justin, Leicester do not look good. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Liverpool can't keep a clean sheet for love nor money, and also he cost a lot of money at 7.5 million. And then Kyle Walker-Peters is doing okay. So there's 4 out of 5 defenders there that I could do it. And let me not forget about Aaron Ramsdale. He's also dropped in price, and he's looking at me, and he's not. I have no confidence that he's going to get anything in the next 3 game weeks other than a few save points if I'm lucky. So I did prioritize my transfer, and you know what? Sometimes you just have to go with your gut and what feels right, and it felt right to me to have Harry Kane on my team for his next 3 games. He plays this week, probably the toughest of the next 3 is away to Burnley, who are tight at the back, as we all know. But then he's 2 home games. He's got a home game to Brighton in game week 7, and then a very tasty fixture away to West Brom in game week 8. So it looks like Kane's in for 3 game weeks at least for me. I will probably captain him 2 out of those 3 game weeks, and then look at game week 9. I might have to move off him soon after that. But who knows with Harry Kane? He can continue to produce. He started so hot this season that I just can't ignore him any longer. And looking back to his early seasons, look, 29 goals in 2017-18, 2016-17. He's a proven asset. He had a couple of off seasons of late, but now this could be his time to get back on top of and win that golden boot again. And he's in a much improved Spurs side with the likes of Gareth Bale as well to come in. So really happy to own Harry Kane. He's gone up to 10.8 million since I bought him. 36% ownership, quite high. So I feel quite safe and assured, and I'll sleep well on Friday night, definitely. So great to have Kane in the team. In terms of captaincy, I've opted for Mr. Reliable, and that's Mo Salah. And he's Mr. Reliable at home, really, Mo Salah. Scored a hat-trick in the opening game against Leeds at home. Blanked away against Chelsea. At home to Arsenal, another return, and 2 away games since. So he's back where he wants to be, scoring goals and assisting at Anfield. And hopefully he does it again at home to Sheffield United, who have not looked good so far. Excuse me. I don't have a cough button. I'm not that sophisticated. Sorry. So, yeah, Salah's captain, vice on Kane. Keeping Werner for one more week. Keeping Werner for his United game and beyond. And I don't know what to do next week. I'll have a transfer. I'd probably have to look at the defense because it's pretty bad. Now, there's one thing I will say about the defense. I thought, and I'll just redirect you to a tweet that I put out yesterday. I thought that there was no point in looking for clean sheet points this season because they're no longer as important. Too many goals being scored and not enough players getting over the 60-minute mark with their 4 clean sheets claimed, and it's been a disaster. But maybe I'm just being too specific to my own team when I look at Aaron Ramsdale, who's conceded every week, and I look at Luke Shaw, who hasn't got a point to his name. So there is a lot to be said about this statistic. After 5 game weeks in 2019-20, there was 23 total Premier League team clean sheets. After 5 game weeks this season, despite there being 30 more goals scored, there's still 22 clean sheets from 2 fewer games because we had that blank in game week 1. So it is not the case that we don't have to look at the importance of clean sheet points for our defenders. Still very much in the mix as a statistic and something we need to consider. And I need to sort my defense out. I'm hoping I survive this week. I'm not happy with my defense, and I don't expect the points to be free flowing coming from there. But I am very, very satisfied with how my attack looks. With the likes of Son, Kane double up, DCL with his run, and look, Harvey Barnes might get something. Salah and Trent, hopefully I'll get something out of them this week as well. And I need a green arrow to get out of this little slump to continue on with it and consolidate that green arrow of game week 5. Any questions or concerns, do you guys? Any captaincy dilemmas you have? Pop them in the comments and I'll get to them before deadline if I can. Another thing we should really talk about is James Rodriguez. I know a lot of you out there have him and are trying to work out what to do with him. It is likely that he's out for 1 game, and I do believe that if you look at the Everton's fixtures, so they've got Newcastle away and then United home, but then they've got 3 beautiful greens, 9, 10, 11, Fulham, Leeds and Burnley. So it could be a case of just benching James Rodriguez if you have a transfer to burn. The other thing to consider is how much value you've got tied up in James. So he's 8 million now. If you bought him at the start of the season at 7.5, you've made 0.5 million. If you sell him, you'll only receive 7.7 million. That's how it works. So it'll cost you 0.3 million to buy him back. If you've only acquired him in the last couple of weeks, you probably don't have that much value tied up in him and can afford to sell him. You can afford to sell him, but definitely not for a hit. I don't think a hit might be justified when he's back next week. But look, I'm not here to tell you guys how to play the game. I'm trying to play it more patiently this season, taking fewer hits and giving my players chances to perform a little longer than maybe most managers do. So hits are out for me. I've taken 1 so far this season, and I don't intend to take any. Well, I don't intend to take them as freely as I used to in the past. So James, keep if you can afford to. If you're struggling to field the team, it's okay to sell him. The players that are being brought in for James, it looks like Wilfried Zaha is very favoured, and for obvious reasons. He's definitely playing up front. He's on penalties, and he's got a sea of green ahead of him. So Zaha is definitely not a bad move. Jack Grealish is not a bad move either. Grealish has been outstanding this season so far, as have Villa. There are a lot of assets to take points off him though. McGinn, Barkley, Watkins, the likes of. But absolutely consider Grealish. He is a great asset to own and has proven that over the years. Well, he's proven that last season, definitely. Any other players? Well, I suppose if you have your 7.5 million, you would probably, you don't want to look for an upgrade. Yeah, I think there are the 2 main players that have been brought in. It's all up to you. Every team is different. Every manager has a different approach. So keeping is okay and selling is okay too, in my opinion. Right, I'm going to look at Super Brew, the predictions. So as I said in the comment section, you can click on and join our Super Brew league, our pool league. I'm around 30th out of the 93 players right now, and it's a week-to-week thing. So even if you haven't started, you can still join in and compete with us. Let's look at the first game. So Villa against Leeds. Now Villa 4 wins on the trot at home again, and Leeds look really good. I mean, I'm so impressed with Bielsa's side. Really attack-minded and play some beautiful football, real intricate stuff. So I'm going to give Leeds a 1-0 win. And it's just going back to the fact that Villa started the season so well last year as well, defensively anyway. I just don't think it's going to last, and there's a lot of unpredictability this season. It might be Villa's time to lose here against Leeds. I know that's not a very technical explanation of why I've went here, but I'm just going a little bit gutty. So 1-0 to Leeds. West Ham against Man City. West Ham have done alright. Showed a lot of character to get back with that 3-3. That Lanzini goal was absolutely insanely good, by the way, to equalise against Spurs last game week. I'm going to give them a goal. I'm going to give Man City 3. Aguero, hopefully De Bruyne is back for them, and it could be dream team up front: Sterling, Aguero, Mahrez, with De Bruyne pulling the strings behind. 3-1 to City. Fulham against Palace. Fulham can't score. They really are in a bad run, and Palace are, when they get ahead, they're hard to break down. I'm going to give a 1-0. I'm going to give a 1-0 win to Palace. Man United against Chelsea. I'm thinking goals here. I'm going to go 2-2. I'm thinking goals. Liverpool against Sheffield United. Honestly, I can't see anything but a Liverpool win and probably a clean sheet. 3-0 Liverpool. Southampton against Everton. A little bit weakened Everton this time. I'm going to give it the old traditional 2-1. 2-1 Everton. Wolves against Newcastle. Well, Newcastle didn't cover themselves in glory against United last week, but they had been good up to that point. So Wolves again, kind of fortunate enough to come away with a win against Leeds. Let's go for a little bit of a stinker 0-0 in that game. Arsenal against Leicester. I'm a little bit biased because I've got 2 Leicester players in my team, but I kind of fancy Leicester to get something here. So I'm going to give it a 1-1. Brighton against West Brom. Brighton have had a multitude of opportunities to score, plenty of shots, chances created, and this might be their time to take some of them and get another win this season. So I'm going to give it a 2-0 Brighton win. Burnley against Spurs. Spurs against Burnley against Spurs. I don't know. Maybe it's a Spurs win, but I don't know by what margin. Let's say 2-1 Spurs. So there we go. There's my picks. I'm going to hit continue and it'll just lock them in. So you guys can go ahead and do it. Any problems with the link or anything, hit me up and I'll send you a fresh one. It should be working perfectly there. That's it for me, folks. I'm going to leave my team up. It's a captain Salah all the way, the Egyptian king. Hopefully he can do the business again for captainers this season. Hat-trick would be beautiful with a couple of Trent Alexander assists. Again, any questions or concerns, hit me up in the comments. I'll get back to you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, all that good stuff. I appreciate you all. Take care, and I'll chat to you all next week.